Hello and welcome to GB News from ARC Conference. I'm delighted now to be joined by James Lindsay, the wonderfully successful author who, well, likes to rile up the left, and he's pretty damn successful at it too. James, thank you very much for your company today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Now, James, you, on Saturday, before ARC Conference, you had a tour of London, and I hear you may have got caught up in the protests that were going on out there. Were you quite depressed and despondent by what you saw on the streets of London?
No, and I think that the protest got caught up in me. I walked up the Strand the wrong way through the protest, rather unbothered by the fact that it was occurring. But it was a lot of people. It was a bit surprising to see that many people. It was right outside my hotel. I actually didn't stay up here. I stayed downtown the first couple of nights here. And they organized right outside of my hotel, right at the Embankment tube stop with the bridge and the eye there. And I watched them, 11, 12 from the morning and start to get together. And at first it was very sweet, these, Arabic girls looking out on their cell phone. You've got to come down here. They've got out the horses for the mounted police. But then it turned, quite more vigorous as the day went on. And I understand it got a little crazy after dark, but no, it seemed, I don't despair of these things necessarily, but it was a lot larger than I expected.
But do you expect that sort of thing throughout Western capitals now? Is this just what we have to get used to, where actually people, in some cases, are glorifying the October 7 massacre that occurred in Israel?
So, yes, it is what I expect in capitals now, and no, it is not something we should get used to. We should be using it as a wake-up call that something has gone very badly wrong in our civilization, and that we need to start finding out, understanding what it is, and addressing it. Full-throated support for Hamas and for murder and terrorism is a far cry from supporting, a political cause, turning out in hundreds of thousands to support a brutal act and to try to reframe the act as a act of pure self-defense and resistance is something that begs for an explanation and understanding, and it begs for smart, informed action on the part of the British people to not get used to this. This should not become the new normal across European and American cities.
Yeah, I mean, we saw yesterday there was a significant train station in London that was basically occupied by a pro-Palestinian outfit, marching and basically sat down on their bottoms, refusing to move, shouting, "Free Palestine, free Palestine." My problem with these people, James, is that actually when you ask them what that would mean, what the consequence of free Palestine would mean, who is that freedom from? Is it the state of Israel? Is it Hamas? Because if it's not Hamas, then these things will continue to happen and the Palestinian people will not be free. But when you challenge them on that, they just go totally, there is nothing there.
That's because they can't say the real answer. And if they've actually read the Hamas charter that was published in the 1980s, they'll know the real answer. The saying in English is, the slogan is, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free from what? Well, from Jews. How do you draw such a bold conclusion? Well, you read the Hamas charter, which says that quite explicitly that the Muslims will go to war with the Jews until the very rocks and trees cry out, "There's a Jew hiding behind me, come get him." It's very, very clear what the organization is about, and it's very clear what the slogan is about. This issue, though, is that what should we not be getting used to that we have come to expect? What is normal that should not be normalized? This idea that when the left has a political cause, they occupy some bit of public property, whether it's the entire downtown of London, whether it's a train station, whether it's the trains itself, whatever, they always just decide that they're going to take over and occupy this thing. And this requires a careful and thoughtful response, and it should not be normalized in our society. This should be seen as unacceptable.
And if we accept then that both Britain and the United States of America have a problem with illegal migration at their southern borders, their respective southern borders, do you worry, James, that actually the Western values and the liberal tolerance that we hold dear, perhaps, and I mean liberal in the traditional sense, not the American sense, do you worry that actually those who who frankly hate what we stand for, will become all too powerful in sheer volume of numbers?
It's a true fear. I mean, the American southern border in particular is a horrifying situation because we don't just have the immigration of people from different cultures, which are very broad. We don't actually even know who's coming in. So it's not even necessarily people who hate our country. Some do. Some are merely, hopeful working migrants, but they're still illegally crossing the border. Some, though, are military operatives for other nations taking up location within the United States. Some are drug smugglers. Some are sex traffickers. These things are happening rampantly. And when we have this ridiculous, literally almost laissez-faire attitude toward our borders, we open the doors not just to cultural dilution, which is a concern in and of itself, but a host of other problems that I think are more obviously poignant in the American context, where we have rampant fentanyl smuggling, sex trafficking, and so on going across the border as well.
Now, what we've been talking about at this conference, responsible citizenship and all the rest of it, do you think, and I know you're a big MAGA man, do you think actually President Donald Trump is archetypal of this conference? Do you think he represents the values of this conference?
Well, if I might be completely blunt, I think there are two conferences here, one on the stage and one in the audience. And largely yes to the audience and largely no to the stage. Kevin McCarthy and that he's Canadian, Jason Kenney, I don't think quite represent Donald Trump in terms of kind of the spirit of politics on the right, broadly speaking. I don't know if Michael Gove represents Donald Trump in Trumpian thought, but I feel the spirit in the room when I talk to people walking around much more commonly than I do hearing it from the stage.
And why is it then that you're still a Trump man? There's been a lot that's happened since 2016, I'm sure you accept. And a lot of people, many conservatives are saying, I've had my day with Trump. I'm afraid I can no longer support the man. What is it that makes you still resolute in your defense of him?
Well, on the one hand, I don't see any particular reason to have given up on the man. I think many of the reasons people have are the same thing that they were in 2016 and throughout his presidency, media contrivances more than a true representation of what he's saying and doing. At the same time, there's a pragmatic aspect to this as well. The man is, unless there's some legal loophole or trick the Democrats pull, he's going to be the nominee. This isn't in question. This isn't in doubt. There is no second contender that's remotely close. And so if that's the case, just from a pragmatic perspective, why divide that energy now?
Yeah. And just finally, James, if I can make you get out your crystal ball and predict the future, do you think America is going to be a red or a blue country come next year?
So you mean, I guess, from the presidency?
Absolutely.
Because, that's not how the country works.
Indeed.
Politically. But I can't... You've asked me to pull out a crystal ball on the one topic that I think is too murky to see the future on. There are too many big variables in play. What will the election laws be in various states? Even without drawing any allusions to fraud or misconduct, mail-in ballots and ballot drop boxes create a very different situation for ballot chasing, is I think the technical term. Harvesting is illegal, but ballot chasing is legal. That creates a different electoral circumstance than show up one man, one vote plus absentee ballots. So it's very difficult to know what the election laws are going to be to answer the question. It's not, to me, clear that Biden will be on the ticket, and that's going to change a great deal. The Democrats are broadly dissatisfied with Biden as well. He's not, I think, we all pretend for politeness sake maybe that he's in good health, but it's very obvious he's not in good health. So it wouldn't be hard to kind of sundown him and, nominate a replacement, kind of at the last minute. And does that new energy change the energy in the Democratic Party or across the left, or does it scare them? What's the role of RFK? Is he running a spoiler now against the Democrats now that he's come bending to the left? It's an Alex Jones suggestion, but that's Alex Jones. So there's so many big picture variables that I don't know. But if you want to know if I think Trump has a realistic path, supposing there's no legal tricks to the White House, I think he does. And I think there's a strategy that's been being worked out and been worked out that might be able to put him there. I think the energy might actually go behind him once he has the nomination very strongly. And so it's so ambiguous that, unfortunately, all I can tell you is this is a suite of complicated variables I'm looking at to watch and wait and discern from.
Listen, I want Trump to start tweeting regularly again. That's all I want in life. Those tweets made my life.
Yeah, I can't be the only guy doing mean tweets.
Exactly,
Yeah.
you can't. But James Lindsay, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.